Hello everyone, my name is Tatiana Brittian. My capstone topic is social media impact on cultural appropriation and appreciation. So starting off with my research question is how does social media impact cultural appropriation and appreciation? What caused me to think of this question was recent trends on social media platforms like TikTok and Instagram, as well as pop culture headlines and movie references. The picture on the bottom left shows one of the many headlines you'll see on Google and Twitter. This was from 2015 when French fashion designer Isabelle Marinette was accused of appropriating the traditional Mexican indigenous pattern. I was posted on her website, and it was sold for over $500. Isabel didn't apologize to the Mexican government until 2020, 5 years later. So, what is cultural appropriation and appreciation? Well, that's a complicated answer depending on who you ask. The definition of cultural appropriation, according to the Oxford Dictionary, is the unknowledge or inappropriate adoption of customs, practices, and ideas of one people or society by members of another, and typically more dominant people or society. The definition of cultural appreciation is unclear. This definition is from a blog called Preemptive Love. Cultural appropriation is when you earnestly seek to learn about or explore a different culture. You learn, you listen, you strive to understand. You seek to honor its beliefs and traditions. The sources for my short literature review from what I found were most likely recent from the years of 2017 to 2019. I also found some sources from the late 1990s that talked about cultural appropriation in films. From looking over, I constructed two theories. Theory one, social media has sped up the usage of cultural appropriation and has made it seem acceptable. In theory two, cultural appropriation has been around long before social media. Now people are confused as to what fits into each category. For my hypothesis, it's users do not research the if users do not research the meaning of something, then cultural appropriation or appreciation can occur without thought. My independent variable would be research about a topic or item. My dependent variable would be accidental or intentional appropriation or appreciation. My theory is although social media is a powerful tool, people are not thinking twice about when trying out social media trends that occur. To figure out how people felt about cultural appropriation appreciation and what their definitions for terms were, I conducted a 26-question survey that received 46 responses. In the survey, some of the questions I asked were age group, gender identity, ethnicity, familiarity with cultural appropriation, personal experience with cultural appropriation, location, and more. I received 29 responses for personal experience with cultural appropriation. These are just a few of them. Yes, I am Latina. My first language is Spanish, so constantly I would have Americans say things like arriba when they hear me speak Spanish. Arriba is a common Mexican word. It comes out of the assumption that everyone speaks Spanish is from Mexico. Actually, I do have personal experience. During Halloween, some people dress as Indians and wear Indian dresses and saris. My culture is not your costume. I get that people think it's cute, but there's a lot more to it. It can offend many people, even though I personally understand that many people are not educated on cultural appropriation. While I was working at a daycare, I was allowed to wear my hair in braids, but when my boss, who was white, showed me pictures of her daughter with her hair braided when she was a kid, and they were in the Bahamas. So her daughter could have her hair braided, but I couldn't. She was like, "Oh, her hair was so cute here," but on me, it was inappropriate and non-formal. It's not my personal experience as I am Filipino, Asian American, Pacific Islander, but in high school Japanese club. People only embrace the pop culture features of Japanese culture, anime, manga, cosplay, and gaming, and not actual Japanese traditional culture. People were not willing to learn the Japanese language and their common etiquette, despite having Japanese classes. People love lots of cosplay fictional Japanese characters, but do not understand the cultural or background whatsoever. The same for tourists who try to have luau's in their own homes, states, but not understanding Hawaiian culture. The same goes for people culture appropriating Chinese culture by dressing up as Chun-Li or having Chinese characters on tattoos, or labeling Asians indigenous people as exotic beings. One of the questions I asked was that I gave example of controversial cultural appropriation or appreciation topics. This was about the Dallas company called the Mahjong Line released a line of Mahjong sets that critics say whitewash Chinese culture. These were the responses. 65.2% said said that it was appropriation. 30.4% said they were unsure, and 4.3% said it was appreciation. I asked after the question why respondents chose the answers they chose. One respondent said they took something which contains thousands of years in history and that they were selling it because it looks better with their design. It was inconsiderate that they thought they can improve upon someone else's history. For my final thoughts, the definition of cultural appropriation and appreciation is still very debatable, but when asked, people have similar definitions and thoughts about the topic. It became clear to me that when an item is culturally appropriated, it comes down to context. What was the person's intent and how much research did they do? It's also up to people for that said culture that the item was taken front to call taken front of culture to call out whether it's cultural appropriation or appreciation. Mahalo, thank you for listening to my presentation. Feel free to take my survey for yourself.